When we say how to thrive and prosper, I know that what comes into the minds of a lot of people would be finance. And it's very interesting that just yesterday I was invited to speak somewhere on the topic of building professional and personal development. And I was asking them, I asked the question to them randomly. I said to them, which is the most important for your success in life, your professional development or your personal development? And we had a couple of hands go up to say, oh no, and they really were saying, no, it's your professional development, because when you grow in your career path, then it fixes every other aspect of your life. And I'm like, no, you have it backwards. Hello. So when I am teaching, I always like to bring out to break down the concepts of the words. And the reason that is important is so that we can all be on the same page. We can all understand, have a very good understanding of what we're talking about conceptually and practically. So when we say how to thrive and prosper, the keywords there would be how to. How to is a very key word. So thrive is another word that stands out. Prosper is another word that stands out. And African woman is a word that stands out. And lastly, 2024. So I think we should just take it backward. What is 2024? 2024 is a year. Is a season in time. Is a season in our lifetime. So what happens when we enter new seasons, whether calendar seasons or our purpose season, our vision season, our birth seasons, birthday season, whatever, it's a season in our lifetime. What happens is that we must be discerning of that season to know what the demand of that season is, because there are demands on every season. Okay, so that's first. 2024 out of the way. The other words, thrive, the other words, prosper, right? One of the first words that popped up when I put in thrive in the dictionary, it said prosper. So what that means is that thrive and prosper are actually synonyms. It said prosper and grow tremendously. When I checked up the word prosper, it actually said grow tremendously and flourish in all or an aspect of your life. Then the African woman speaks to us, right? And then the how to speaks to understanding, a depth of knowledge. That's what understanding is. Understanding is gotten from the root word for standard. In fact, when you check it etymologically, it will say to come in between. It will say in between, under, among. And I understood it much later to mean that when you take a concept, you come inside of the concept, you approach the concept from all aspects, with a viewpoint to gaining understanding, to break down the concept, to be one with the concept. That's it. Among, in between, under. That's it. To become one with the concept. When we say how to thrive and prosper, I know that what comes into the minds of a lot of people would be finance. Right? And it's very interesting that just yesterday I was invited to speak somewhere on the topic of building professional and personal development. And I was asking them, I asked the question to them randomly. I said to them, which is the most important for your success in life, your professional development or your personal development? And we had a couple of hands go up to say, oh no, and they really were saying, no, it's your professional development, because when you grow in your career path, then it fixes every other aspect of your life. And I'm like, no, you have it backwards. Okay, so when we say thrive and prosper, I'm like, okay, I'm sure people will be thinking finance. Finance is a huge part of it. Let's not get it twisted. Finance is a huge part of it, but that's just one part. And we'll be seeing how later today, because human beings, as the definition of prosper is, it says one or more aspects of your life. It means that we are just not one. There's not just one aspect to us. Our professional development, our career and riches, where the flow of money is just one aspect of our lives. All right, just one aspect of our life. So we are going to look at it very, very, very holistically. The question that I want to ask is twofold. So number one, I asked, why African woman? Some people will say, oh, why not just thrive as a person? Why thrive as an African woman? And then on the other hand, it will say, is it possible to prosper in one aspect of your life and not in the other aspect? So we'll take it one after the other. So why African woman? Right, being African can seem like, the odds are stacked against us, right? Especially with our, I dare say, very rich history with colonialism and slavery. And so, Africa is actually known to be the poverty capital of the continents of the world. It's actually the poorest continent, amongst all the continents in the world, Africa, right? So, you would find that, there's this huge odd that is stacked against you because, I'll say this, listen to this very carefully, because people do not respect poor people. Yes, in human nature, it's not human nature to respect the poor. We can sympathize with the poor, we can feel for the poor, we can empathize with them, we can give them handouts, we can try to take care of them, but to bring them into the same space, to live with us, is not a very common thing. It's not necessarily human nature. Do you see? So this is why there is a lot of disrespect. There is also, of course, the history of colonialism and slavery, and this rich history that we have had, and of course that's what's responsible for being black, in the term being black in the Western world, right, as we have it today. So there's all this coupled with being a woman, an African woman, especially an African woman who's living in Africa. So having dealing with the entire poverty and the underdevelopment, right, then now you're dealing with inequality in the office space, inequality just generally, right? Inequality even in religious circles. And I'm sure most of you would understand what I'm saying. So yeah, that's why it is critical to address ourselves as African women, right? So having had all these odds stacked against us, my question is, what then is this topic about? Is it possible, how possible is it to actually thrive and prosper, in this season as a woman, as an African woman? How possible? Is it really a possibility if we say that, okay, the odds are stacked against us? Yes, it is. And I'll tell you how and why. It is because the beauty of life is such that the principles that govern life and living and the entire earth is not gender specific, number one. Number two, is not boundary specific, is not bound by geography, is not bound by space, and is not bound by gender. So what that means is that regardless of your gender or your location, right, once you know these principles and you begin to apply it, then it will work for you. What that means in essence is that your Africanness is not holding you back. Colonialism, your workplace, or whatever. What is holding you back is a lack of knowledge of the principles that you should apply in your life that will cause your growth, your prosperity, and your progress. Frustration just gets to us. The stress gets to us, when we do not have enough depth of knowledge. And depth of knowledge is a show of your capacity. You don't have enough depth of knowledge or capacity to apply in that area of life. So the problem oftentimes is not with the events that happen to us. It's not with the situations that we encounter. It's not with whatever problem or trial or whatever it is. That's often not the problem. The problem is with our knowledge. How much do we know? If you fail in the day of adversity, it means you know little. Your strength is little. Your capacity is little. You've not built enough capacity. You do not have enough depth of information, depth of knowledge. So that's what it is. So the problem here right now is a depth of knowledge that we need to apply in our lives that will cause us to thrive and to prosper, right? And today, we will be we'll be dealing with that. We'll be handling it. The second question I said to ask is that, is it possible to prosper in one aspect of our lives and not the other? So I delved into scriptures, haven't checked just the literal Google definition, right? I now delved into scriptures to check in the areas where prosperity was mentioned. Just a few. The first one is Joshua 1:8. Joshua 1:8 says that this book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate in it day and night, that thou may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and thou shalt have good success. Sometimes it's sweet when we're reading it in King James. So let's put it in modern day parlance, right? This book of the law in that time was the Torah given to Moses by God, which formed the first scriptures of what we now know as the Bible, the first chapters of what we now know as the Bible, right? So the law was given to Moses by God. And in Joshua 1:8, Joshua was telling them, this book of the law, in other words, the Bible, shall not depart out of your mouth, but you will meditate in it. And what is that meditation? Thou shalt meditate on it day and night, so that you may observe to do. So what that means is that you would have to internalize it. You would have to know it. You'd have to let it marinate. That's meditation. You would have to sit with it every single day and night. And when you do this, it says that thou mayest observe to do according to everything that is written in it. It means that these principles, it says the book of the law, it means that the book of principles, right? A lot of life principles are in there. When you sit with them, you would know them. And when you know it, then you would make your way prosperous, and then you would have good success. You would make your own way prosperous, and you will have good success. That's the first process of meditation, that you sit with it and then you know it, and then you move further to internalize it, to ask questions about it, to seek to understand it. And when you seek to understand it, then you can now begin to apply it. You cannot apply what you don't understand. You can know the principles, but you cannot apply it. And that's what I was calling a depth of knowledge. That you come in contact with a depth of knowledge. It has to be a depth of knowledge, not just knowledge. Because knowledge in itself is just data. Knowledge in itself is just raw information. I was there at the meeting yesterday, the one I spoke of. And I asked them, as I always ask, I said, what is the cause of flooding? What is the cause of flooding? And then they said, oh, that's the easiest answer we always give. Blocked drainages. Why are the drainages blocked? They said because of litter. You throw dirt into the drainages. I said, okay, so you agree that sometimes you don't throw dirt into the drainage, you throw it on the roadside, and then the rain comes and washes it into the drainage, and it floods. And they were like, you need to see them. Very dramatic. Now, wow, block drainage. Yes, so, and I said, okay, so calm down. How many of you throw dirt on the floor? And then they go, and now, yeah, that's it. Of what use is the information to you? That's what I asked them. You know it. You know it. So knowledge is just information. They would say any fool can know anything. Anyone can know anything. Anyone can know anything. It's just news. Right? Or just facts. Just data. But there is the information that you must meditate on. That you must seek to understand. That you must convert. You must come into understanding. You must be one with that subject. That's understanding. For standard, remember, in between, under, above. That's the etymology of the word. It means to be one with a concept. So that's what Joshua 1:8 was saying. The first place where the word prosper is used. This book of law will not depart out of your mouth, but you should meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do. You would apply it, apply the principles, and then, you would make your own way prosperous. So you see that the God prosper me prayer is, is here and there. So it is for who knows the principles and who applies the principles. And then that person's way will be prosperous, and then the person would have good success. So that's the first scripture, right? It's a spiritual thing. It's the book of the law. It's the Bible. Spirit, one aspect of your life, and then it flows into every other aspect.